Hello, hello. I think it's working. Right on. Okay. Right on. So this is a new channel. Something I'm just starting. There's a lot of uh interesting conversations I like to have, and I've been going to kind of like the wrong places to have them. Like Facebook and Twitter and such, and it's kind of it's a bunch of brain rot. Um, I should I have a hard time, connecting with people. On those platforms. So I figured I'd start like this YouTube channel and uh figure it out as I go. I just downloaded OBS, so I'm not exactly sure how it works and all that jazz. I'm figuring it out. I feel very much like a boomer, but here we are, and we're gonna talk about morality. Um, if you don't like to talk about morality, then I don't know, Doug. That's what I like to talk about. And that's what I'm gonna make this video about. So, um, I'm kind of since this is a new channel, I'm kind of just talking to nobody right now. But if you end up seeing this, then cool, uh, right on. This is my position on morality. So let's figure out this OBS thing real quick. Uh, fuck. Okay, let's figure. Okay, right on. Okay. Oh, cool. Okay, we got this. We got this Google Doc open. Uh, I'm holding a microphone with one hand because I don't have a mic stand. Uh, so this might be a little bit weird. Okay, so uh, the first thing to think about as far as morality goes is that it is definitely 100% relative. How do you spell relative? Oh my gosh, I'm so dumb. Okay, cool. It's relative. Why is it relative? Because there's no like actual like objective law about like what is good. What does it mean to be good, right? Like we kind of have like these intuitions and these kind of general beliefs like, oh yeah, murder's wrong, and like, oh, rape is wrong, and stuff like that. But if someone comes up to us and they're like, hey, I think we should murder and also rape and then murder, and then bring them back to life and rape and murder them again. Everyone that wears a blue shirt, it's like, oh, that seems kind of bad. Like, ew. But that's like kind of the only argument we have, right? It's just, ew, that doesn't sound very nice. We don't really like that. And if we want to get a little bit more like intellectual, we can maybe make some like claims within a preference, right? We can say, I think it is bad when people suffer. Um, Raping and murdering people with blue shirts causes them to suffer or increases suffering in the world, and that is a bad thing, right? But then there's this like interesting thing that comes into play, or this interesting question that comes into play, where it's like, okay, well, then why is suffering bad, right? Then you can have, other people come in and be like, well, actually, suffering is like necessary, and suffering is actually a good thing, and suffering. So, yeah, I think you can, maybe you can understand, maybe you can't, but uh, we have no actually like objective like law about what is good and what is bad. So, what is good has to be relative to like a specific preference, a specific goal, right? So this is kind of like the first part of my like morality. So it's relative to, yeah, we can even put this. I'm tapping with one hand again, so bear with me. Relative to a goal, and then goals are like subjective to the individual, right? Which is kind of interesting. Um, so the next part about my view on ethics and morality is that I generally we all have the same like goals. Um, and I don't mean objectively. I mean generally. I mean most of us have a preference to not suffer. Most of us have a preference to kind of have certain rights, a right to life, maybe a right to well-being. Um, so and I think we can kind of see this when we talk about morality, and the majority of us are like, yeah, murder's wrong. Yeah, like stealing is wrong. Um, and there might be some like gray areas, um, like we might say like, oh, lying is wrong, but like, what about if the Nazis are at your door and they're looking for the Jew upstairs or whatever, right? Like, then is lying still wrong in that situation? So like, yeah, there's gray areas and such, but for the most part, we kind of generally um have kind of like collective agreements about what our preferences are. So, okay, let's put this down. Collective agreements. Did I spell that right? That's okay. Something real quick is I'm actually really bad at spelling. So, um, yeah, that's the situation. Um, we kind of have collective agreements. I think the biggest collective agreement we have is that suffering is bad. Which is um, which isn't true for everybody. Which is why morality is relative. But I think the majority of us would say that suffering is bad, and um, even to the point where like if you have more of like a rights based, like deontological or like even like a virtue based system. The reason that you had that system is because the end goal is that um, less people will suffer because of it, right? Like if you have um, certain rules about like a right to life or whatever, or maybe like um, certain uh, thoughts about creating virtuous people, like virtuous people make virtuous decisions or whatever. Um, the reason behind that, I believe, generally, is because um, the end goal is that less people will suffer because of it. That maybe right. Just take the example of like a deontological, like you should never lie. Um, like I think the reason people might have that view is because lying in the situations that may increase suffering in that moment on a broad scale will decrease suffering um, on a whole. Um, but anyways, kind of you know going on a little bit of a rant there. Um, generally, um, we kind of agree about um, our preferences, and there's definitely disagreements, but generally there's like a general agreement about what we want to see in the world. So part three about my kind of moral ethical view is free will. No, we don't have it. Free will is dumb. There's no free will. That's such a huge can of worms. It's a whole nother conversation. Oh my gosh. Um, but I guess just a quick kind of argument is like I don't know. We live in such a cause and effect world, and why do we assume that um our thoughts and uh preferences and desires are like outside of that? Um, I don't believe we have free will. Um, not even a little bit. Um, and because of this, so what has happened? So it's like I think one of the reasons we don't have free will, one of the biggest reasons is that we will always do what we think is best. Um, and that's kind of that's kind of an interesting thing to say, right? Because like there's so many times where it's like, oh yeah, I should go to the gym. Like I think that's probably the best option, but I'm gonna stay home and eat ice cream instead, right? Like we will always do what we think is best. That's kind of an interesting thing to say. It seems kind of wrong. So let me kind of like explain what uh I mean by that. Um, I guess I should restate it as we will always do what we think will bring us the most joy. Um, so it's like, okay, yeah, maybe I should if my goal is to be healthy or whatever, uh, I should go to the gym. Like objectively, I should go to the gym. But I don't know. I'm feeling kind of down, dog. And uh, I heard this new show on HBO is pretty good, and I have some ice cream in the fridge, and dad gum, dude, that sounds really nice, and I kind of need a mental break. So I'm gonna stay home, eat ice cream, and watch this new HBO show. Um, so the way that we like rationalize that is like I'm gonna do it like most brings me joy, and maybe we were wrong. Maybe we would have been happier if we went to the gym. But the fact that we rationalize that with the like purpose of like bringing us the most joy um, plays a part in this whole like ethics morality thing. Um, Now, going along with free will is that the more we make those choices, the more we like actually realize what brings us happiness, what brings us pleasure, right? Now, if there is no free will, and again, this is a whole nother conversation about that we can have whether there is or isn't because it's such a big, broad topic. But if we assume that we have no free will, excuse me, then um, right, we can assume that we had to have made that choice, and because of that, we can kind of assume that we um will always make the choice that we believe will give us the most pleasure. Now, the more we make these choices, the more we experience these choices, um, the better we get at it. So this comes into play, kind of the fourth point, which is interesting. And I'm forgetting the name. Oh fuck! What the hell is it? Programic morality. That the more our wills continue to happen based on our preferences, and we know from point one that morality is all about just preferences because there is no like actually objective good or bad in the world because it's just relative to a goal. That the more our wills enact choices based on um, how we rationalize what we think will give us the most pleasure, and then learning from those like wins or losses, um, right? Like maybe we think touching the hot stove is going to give us the most pleasure, and we touch it, and ouch, oopsie, that didn't work. The more we, you know, the more our wills enact these choices, the better we get at it. Which becomes almost like a program. Like we are kind of wired to become more moral people based on our goal because there is no free will. Um, and interesting, cool. I don't know if any of that made sense. This is my very first video on this channel. Uh, hope you enjoyed it, and I hope we can like have discussions and all that jazz. And I hope you can bring some of you guys on and have I guess interviews, debates, and conversations. I basically have no idea what I'm talking about, and I just like this, like these sort of topics. They're fun to talk about, and yeah, cool, interesting. Um, I bid thee farewell, I guess, and if you have anything to say, I guess comment below and or message me directly somehow. I guess I don't know. I don't know how any of this works, dog. So, here, look, you can even see me again. Look, watch. What's up? Um, interesting. Okay, yeah, first video. Awesome. Adios.